I'm Matt Davis, also known as the Renegades. The thing I hear most often from people about my music is it's something of a hybridization of new and old styles. I rather like that because I use a lot of vintage hardware in the music I make, but I also find a lot of interest in progressive and underground new forms of music. I like to bring it all together. I kind of grew up with electronic music. My mom always played like 808 State, Black Box, Herbie Hancock, Art of Noise, and a lot of Motown. I started collecting gear at probably about 12. I was DJing at 10. And I was fortunate enough that my family kind of treated it like another instrument. I started piano at 6, mandolin shortly after, guitar. So, when the DJing came into the equation, it kind of got treated about the same way. One of my favorite pieces of hardware is the Roland S70 rack sampler. It's not particularly fast. It's from 1992. They came stock with like 2 megs of internal memory. Mine's expanded out to 18 now. The interface isn't particularly intuitive, but it just has this sound for drums and keyboard mapped instruments that you really can't replicate anywhere else. It definitely gives you the nicest representation of the amen break I've found yet. Pretty good for a tuned 808 too. If anybody wonders how I get my amen tone the way it is, look no further. This is actually the first 16-bit sampler I think Roland ever made, and when it says it'll do bit truncation to 12-bit, it's not because you're looking for a bit crushed type of effect. People were still moving floppy disks around at this point in time. The maximum volume size for a SCSI disk you could put on one of these is 540 megs, so the bit truncation sounds especially genuine because it is especially genuine in these machines. Oh yeah, champion sound. I'd kind of toyed with the idea of creating like an electronic magnum opus for the last few years, and last November I finally got around to actually making one over the course of about 7 days, and that was Champion Sound Mark 1. I've always aspired to be the most well-rounded composer I can, and I find that doing something on the scale Champion Sound is really kind of expands my palette of expression as a composer. I really wanted to see if it was possible to, have one piece of music run the gamut from counterpoint to jazz theory to tone row and back again. I learned a lot of life skills as a composer from the series thus far. I can't imagine I would have ever learned to modulate from Dorian to Slendro pentatonic for the Balinese gamelan ensemble sections, which is actually a really interesting modality because all of the intervals are perceived as consonant in that scale. It's somewhat similar to Western Phrygian mode in pentatonic form, along with learning to write Montuno patterns for keyboard and whatnot. Matrix reverb busing architecture. I kind of hit on this in the Champion Sound explanation video. It's on YouTube. But basically the concept of it is I found myself about 7 years ago with my friend Ian Stewart trying to multi-track a symphonic orchestra, a 96-piece ensemble. And when we got to the mixdown, after tracking all of these instruments in my apartment one at a time, we started and we couldn't really get the sound we wanted out. It just didn't sound genuine to us. And we kind of put our heads together and we were like, okay, well, how could that be? What's the difference here? and what we came out with was it must be the depth of distance from the virtual microphone to these virtual recreations of instruments on a stage. And that was sort of what led us to develop the MRPA system. Basically, the gist of it is with a given reverb generator, you can model from left to right if it's a stereo generator, but you have no way to vary the depth of your sound sources that are going into the reverb generator. What we do is we set up an array of reverb generators sent from buses. You can send different amounts of each instrument to different buses, which are the same reverb setting but with different depth settings, different wet-dry signals, if you will. Okay, so I'll give you an example. I upgraded to the 8-bus array from the 4-bus for Champion Sound Mark III, so now there's 8 different layers of stage depth. Piano layer, it gets its own layer. Close to conductor position. First stage layer would be front cellos, front basses, front first violins. Second layer would be inside cellos, inside first violins, inside basses. Third layer, we get some of the woodwinds, most of the violas, and the rear basses. Fourth would be more of the woodwinds, the brunt of the low woodwinds. Fifth is your high brass, French horns. Sixth, you have some of your percussion, I think the majority of the percussion, low brass, trombones, trumpets as well, and the 8th bus is the mallets. Now you put it all together, and you have a very genuine image of the virtual stage for an orchestra. Yeah, my tattoos, things that are timeless, things of value. Amen break, think break, Moog, Reason, Roland, Pro Tools, me. I don't know, I kind of feel like these are things that don't fade, that will always kind of have significance. You'll never see like sports teams or girls' names tattooed on me, because these are things that change. But Moog is forever, Roland is forever. This was my first one though. I'm an avid Rhodes piano enthusiast. I happen to have a Rhodes Mark I stage 73 I've been kind of restoring over the last couple of years. It's good fun. I kind of feel like the Rhodes piano, maybe short of the electric guitar, is probably the most influential instrument of the 20th century. I'm in the middle of recording a piano collection of impressionist music adapted for Rhodes 73 right now. This one's a contemporary piece, but it's got all the signs and symptoms of impressionism. Tone clusters, tonal ambiguity, modulation. It's all here. I actually find a lot of my inspiration for the music I write in impressionist music. I mean, not only for the anti-establishment component, which, I mean, you know, the punk rock aesthetic is present in all true electronic music, but beyond that, the departure from counterpoint and standard triads is really poignant for me, in that, like, the effect of its music reflects more on the listener than that of the composer. I'm kind of a hobbyist musicologist. I've always been interested in imposed preconceptions in Western music theory. You know, for instance, in Western music, we have established responses for things we hear in music. It's the result of conditioning, you know, major, happy, minor, sad, you know. But I mean, you know, what does a B minor 11 drop 5 mean to someone, you know? Maybe loss? I don't know.